Welcome everyone to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today we're looking at your social influence. So hopefully this will be a bit of fun. It's really just looking at whether it's in sort of social media, whether you want to be a social influencer on a platform like YouTube or something like that, whether it's just around having the best friends and the best sort of connections and the most fun that you can socially, whether it's a social cause, whether it's in your career or all of the above. What we're looking at is what's your unique social media skill, influence, all of that, not just social media, but social networking. And it's all about relationships. So it may pick up love relationships, but I've chosen the Three of Cups as a way to help with the choice for the readings because I don't want it just to be focusing on love relationships, so they may come up, and if Spirit wants to talk about that, we'll certainly talk about it, but also friendships, social networks, as I say, all the things that bring some fun and zest into life, or things that can sort of move forward your causes, your beliefs, and so forth. So we're going to look at your particular profile of social influence, the sort of areas in life that it particularly manifests. Have a look with tarot about how you're perceived by others in this way and how you can enhance your social influence. And then we're going to have you be introduced to an advisory PR board of Spirit team helpers in this space and see what their advice for you is as well before bringing it all together. So hopefully it's just a bit of fun. That's the idea of this. Though often when I say that, something serious comes out, but we'll see. I'll put down the numbers for those that like the numbers to choose. But as I say, I've chosen the Three of Cups out of 3 different tarot decks. So I've chosen the tarot decks fairly carefully as well too for this. I wanted to have a slightly different feel for each of them because that might help you navigate which reading you're most drawn to. So for pile number 1, we have the Three of Cups from the Pythia Tarot. This tarot is based on Greek mythology, Greek archetypes and Greek gods and goddesses and so forth. And it's kind of cute, it's kind of fun, it has some interesting messages, so it's not lightweight, but it has a sort of, I think, a fun energy to it. The second pile, the second reading, is using the Antiquarian Tarot. So this has the sort of old world fortune energy, going to a fortune teller, getting into that sort of level of things, possibly some social sort of issues given some of the sort of ways that the various cards are depicted and so forth. So that's the Three of Cups from the Antiquarian Tarot. And then pile 3 will use the Unfolding Path Tarot, which is a very modern tarot, very diverse, very, very positive and action-oriented, I find, but also quite gentle. So that's just how I relate to those tarot decks. You will have probably seen them on and off in my readings in any case, so may well be familiar with them. But if not, just see what one draws you, or whether it's by number, or pause the video if you need to work out what reading or readings you want to go to, and you're more than welcome to go to more than one. As always, just before you do that, I will occasionally say this in my videos that private readings are available if you would like one. No pressure, but if you would like one, you can get it through my Etsy store. So the details for that are in the description box below, and they're also on my About page on the channel. It's the only way you can get it. I'll never solicit a reading from you. I do know that scammers sometimes pretend to be tarot readers in comments either on their channel or on other channels. Now, I'll probably pick up when it's happening on my channel because I like to really connect with the community and see what the comments are. But just in case I miss one, or in case it turns up on another channel, I will never do that. So if it appears like I'm messaging you about something, I'm not doing that on this or any other social media. You decide if you want a reading, and only you. And then if you do, you come to my Etsy store. So just always want to protect this wonderful community from scammers. Okay, so beyond that, when you're ready and you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So we have the Dreams of Gaia Tarot to have a bit of a look at some of the energy of your social influence, your particular social influence, skill and power. Some elements astrologically to see what areas of your life it particularly is focused on. And over here a little bit later, this is your PR and advisory team for how to use your social influence to its highest good. So you are highly aspirational. You're probably incredibly charismatic. You may be very, very beautiful to look at, very physically appealing, or you may have a very physically or appealing or beautiful voice or skills and creativity in a way that makes people think of beauty and think of love. You might be the type that lots of people fall in love with, actually, which is fine, but obviously that brings its own issues. But you are somehow aspirational with the Queen of Fire and with desire here, and with the clarity of sorting out emotional issues. This is the Nine of Water, which is like the Nine of Cups, but in Dreams of Gaia, it's not necessarily about wish fulfillment in the way that it is in the classic tarot. It's more about clearing out emotional energy to find what is truly integral, what is your emotional integrity, what is the right emotional energy to have. And sometimes comes from when one has been in the depths and the light is coming down. So for some of you, your social influence may represent having come out of difficulties around love or around self-acceptance in some way, or self-actualization, and aligning that with what you want in the world. But you've worked it out. You've done the work. You've done the shadow work, potentially emotionally. You've brought your creative energy out, and you have a good idea about what you desire and what the cost of that is emotionally, creatively, and also in terms of how you serve others, your kind of sense of devotion as well. So you're very well calibrated in that you have this aspirational, charismatic energy. You may well be sort of someone who, through your social influence, lead people to see how they can understand and better achieve their desires and how to feel very beautiful within themselves. But you do it in such a way that's almost humble. This is the interesting thing. You have this natural charisma, but you're taking it either into your career and it's part of how you serve others, or there's almost, as I say, a self-effacing thing that has sort of almost paradoxically the opposite effect to what you intended. So you may well be a very charismatic, very charming person who's learned what it was to not always be seen that way. Like there's almost like the story of the ugly duckling turning into the swan around this, which is not to say that you're ever ugly or any of those things, but it feels like you know what it is not to be seen and not to get what you want, and how to devote yourself to others to bring that energy in. And then paradoxically, as I say, as a result of that, you've become aspirational and people see a great beauty in you. And they see a pathway to understanding desire and bringing in energy and so forth. I'm getting a sense that some of you too, there's a very spiritual, very, very much around power animals, and that's going to be part of your PR board. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out there, but a really strong connection to nature with you and to the caring of diversity and other sorts of people. So possibly maybe you came from a different culture or a different background, or you went through some sort of transition that now, as I say, your influence is aspirational on others, but you're very much about how does it serve others, how does it help others. And I do think for many of you, you use your social influence in your work, or at least in your day-to-day routines in some way. So if you were a creative artist, so it's not in your sort of traditional sort of jobs and organisations or whatever, there may be a particular routine to how you express what you're trying to express creatively and get it to the point that you want it to be, and it doesn't have any sort of emotional energy that's wrong, that seems very precise and very much like a ritual. So if you were a teacher or mentor on creative energies to people, or within a group of people socially that were looking at creativity, you would probably be seen as someone who's very dedicated to a process and to achieving results and staying the course, and not sort of letting emotional sort of energy get in the way, just sort of like actualizing yourself through actualizing a process. So some it's going to be in your workplace and you use charisma and charm and this aspirational thing that people follow you. And for others, as I say, it may be creative in some other way, or even like emotional, where you have a process, I think, that seems sort of selfless, that seems caring of others, and people really respond very much to that. So it's very interesting too, because this feels a bit like Aphrodite to me. And Aphrodite, when she turns up in one of the decks that I have, it's about self-love. It's about understanding what you really have. And as I say, I think you've gone through something to get there, and other people see that. I think you don't, though, interestingly enough. You have it, you're there, but it's sort of like you're very focused on what the outcomes are, the sort of getting the desired outcome and the sort of like the devotion of it. So I think others see you as more charismatic than you see yourself as, and more beautiful than you see yourself as. So that's interesting. And I also think it's interesting that I get that sense of Aphrodite here when you have come to the reading that's using the Pythia Tarot, which in fact has a whole variety of Greek gods and goddesses. So that in itself is interesting too. You may connect sort of some of your social sort of charm may connect to those sort of energies and those sorts of mythologies. For some, this will play out in love as well, certainly. But it almost feels like maybe you meet your loved one at work or in some form of service to others, if that's the case. And you are very much meeting your match. You know, there's a matching of the desire, having maybe gone through sort of emotional situations before where that wasn't the case. So your social influence is charm, beauty, self-actualized confidence and service to others in some way. So let's get a little bit more information about that. Let's see how your social influence is perceived by others using the tarot. How do others view you at this point in time in your social networks or, you know, within workplaces or anything like that where you're using your social influence? Hermit reversed. Six of Swords. Five of Pentacles reversed. Page of Cups. The World. Strength reversed. Okay. So most people do see you as understated. You know, you've got the Hermit reversed and Strength reversed here at either end. This is this sense that I think a lot of your social influence is channeled through helping others, service to others in some way. I don't think this is necessarily a negative thing, but I think it really is pointing out that people see you as far more vibrant than you actually see yourself as. And, you know, it's fine to be circumspect, it's fine to be humble, all of those sort of things. But I think this might be coming out just to let you know, particularly when you're going towards what you desire, what you would love, that you maybe need to ramp up the sort of charisma a bit, not always be about other people, because you're allowed to have emotional outcomes as well, and you're possibly denying yourself that a bit. They see you as very clever, because with the Hermit reversed here, that's sort of the mind, but not necessarily filtered through the spirit. And I actually think you're very emotionally and spiritually attuned, but I think they see it as clever and as having direction. People see you as knowing where you're going and what you're doing and being quite calm in that. Like they see this confidence that maybe you don't even fully feel, but you're kind of enacting it by being self-actualized. So you're someone who they think strategically is sensible to follow, but they think that you don't even realize it's about yourself. I think many of you, particularly in the workplace, may have a natural leadership ability, but you may not have gone for leadership roles. It's like you prefer to be in the creation aspect of things and the service aspect of things. But people look to you, whether you're conscious of it or not, for the next step in a direction. I do think something you need to be aware of is that you may make people feel a little bit alone sometimes. This happens with charismatic people, and you are a charismatic person, but I don't know that you fully recognize it. And I've noticed this a lot, particularly again in workplaces, interestingly enough, though it could also happen within friendship and love relationships too, that charismatic people are often charismatic because they're just getting on with what they do and they're interested in other people. And I think you are. You're very interested in other people. And people find that incredibly captivating when that attention is turned on them. But then if you turn that attention on someone else, then people can feel like, oh, suddenly they're out in the cold. So I feel that people are often clamoring to be in your inner circle, because otherwise they may feel that they're out of the light of the sun to some degree. And again, this sort of thing may sap your strength a bit. You may feel often that you're having to be kind and slow down a bit on what you're doing because people want your attention. And because you have such a service to others aspect, that could be an issue for you. But certainly people see you as aspirational again with the world there. You have achieved something, whatever this is that they would like to achieve. They see you as being really caring as well. In this deck, the world is Gaia, so that sense of sort of, you know, that earthy, you know, strong, stable, caring, nurturing sort of energy. But again, the aspirational, but they're a little bit afraid of your aspirational energy. There's a Page of Cups here. I mean, the Page of Cups classically, they would see you as sort of someone who was a potential love interest that hasn't yet been realised, because the Page is kind of at the beginning of the court cards. or they could see you as someone who's just starting to think about what you might want to do with life. So your friends might sort of see you as you're now sort of starting to define what that is. But this deck uses Pandora, and I think it's a really interesting choice because she's incredibly gifted. Like one of the mythology around Pandora is that she was incredibly gifted, and she was given this box, Pandora's box, and she opens it because she's curious, because she's so gifted in a sense. She may almost think that she can handle anything. And in the process of doing it, lets out all these sort of like dark energies into the world, but she keeps hope. So these two together, to me, I think you bring this out. It's not so much you, though I think you are gifted, but I think that you notice the gifts of others. And in doing it, you're drawing people to you, and they put a lot of their hope on your attention. So I just think it's something you need to be aware of. People want to follow you. They admire you. They see you as aspirational. They see you as kind. They don't fully realize how much their demands on you and your devotion to them maybe saps your strength a bit. But yeah, there's an interesting thing you need to be aware of because of that charismatic effect you have. Okay, so let's ask, how can you then best use this social influence? Seven of Pentacles reversed. The Magician reversed, okay. Ace of Swords reversed. The Oracle, so that's an additional card. That's Pythia, the Delphi Oracle. And Eight of Swords, okay. So I think this is saying that your social networks at the moment are a bit complex. And I think it has to do with, as I say, this aspirational thing. But I also think that people think you're more confident than you actually are. This is why I think you're still processing something emotional, and there's still quite a bit to let go of something that hasn't worked. Other people don't see this, so they see you as having all the answers, and I think you may sometimes feel a bit burdened by that, a bit trapped by that. Almost trapped by the sense that you're here for other people all the time and there isn't time for you. Some of you may work in some sort of service industry that is a really strong focus. Some of you may be, in fact, oracles, and that often feels that way. You can often feel that you're almost at the beck and call of everybody else's needs, so that could be working. You certainly, Spirit is saying here that you have a good spiritual sense of what you need to do and what would be a calmer way for you to move forward, how to deal with some of these issues, because you have processed a lot emotionally. But most people aren't seeing how spiritual you are. They're seeing it much more as a vibrant personality. And that, I think you're realizing to some degree, that limits you. It's limiting your way of thinking and just getting on with things because you're drawn into everybody else's stuff all the time. And sometimes that gets a bit murky, I have to say. Sometimes people are competing for your attention. Sometimes people could be outright lying to get you on side. It makes it hard to work out where to really start to plant your seeds and get a return on investment. I think for many of you, you need to understand your ability, because I don't think you fully do. Once you do that and you recalibrate what you desire and what you want and where you would actually put your devotion, I think for many of you may change social circles, change workplaces, something like that. There is something that needs to be freed once you have a full vision of this, once you really understand within yourself what you desire, because you have all this skill, but it's kind of being used, I think, I'm not saying everybody in your social network is wrong or everything in your workplace is wrong, but I feel like there's an energy of your strength and your focus is being siphoned off by a lot of stuff that is stopping you getting to this, which is why you're dealing with the emotional stuff. And a lot of it is about how people are responding to you. So I think you need to think about how to free that and how to understand, like intellectually understand the nature of your social influence and how that is making people respond to you. I have to say that every truly charismatic person I've met, and I think you are, has really complicated relationships. Like I often think it's the last thing I'd want to be, is charismatic. So I feel for you, because it does make things complex. But if you understand that, then you can start to make some decisions. I think at the moment you're very open-hearted and you're really just wanting to sort of like support everybody, but it's running you dry. It's tying you up. Okay, so before we go back to tarot, we're going to introduce you to your public relations advisory board. So the kind of set of a god, a goddess, an animal, power animal, and an archangel that can help you in enhancing this and getting you this freedom and getting you more in aligned with your spiritual and heart-based and heart-centered social influence. So your archangel is Sandalphon, prayer. So this is going within. I think a lot of your energy is very externally focused. People are very much coming to you. I think you need to find space for yourself, very material space, like a routine. Like routines will help you, actually. I think Sandalphon is talking to you about routines. Get a routine that allows some time out for you. You can't be there at everybody's beck and call. You need to connect to your higher self and your higher knowing. Your power animal is the cat. Oh, it's perfect. The cat is perfect for this. I mean, this is certainly getting into your intuition, but I always think, when I think of cats, that they're beautiful and there is a great deal of beauty about you, but they know who they are, and they are not going to just be in service to others. In fact, you see many sort of jokes about, it's not that cats as pets are there to serve their human owners. The human owners are there to serve them. I think you do need to get a little less humble and a little more clear in what you bring to the table and your personal boundaries. And I think cats are perfect for that. Then in terms of a god, the green man, abundance. So you're meant to make money and bring in wealth and so forth around this. So this is a skill and ability, and this is why it's coming up in the workplace, that could really bring abundance for you. I think at the moment, though, you're giving more than you're getting. So that's the balance. And here as the goddess is Amaterasu, which is about self-esteem. And again, this is interesting. She is a goddess, very beautiful, goddess really of sort of the sunlight and so forth, that is put in a cave, actually, because of jealousy and so forth, so that the light is sort of dimmed for a while. But she eventually is liberated. So there's a sense here, there's something. You've been in a bit of an emotional cave, or others who've been jealous and who wanted to kind of control your energy have done this. For some of you, if you are creative and you're a creative artist, you might have had bad sort of management that was really trying to get more than their fair share and claim more credit than they should have. There's something here about bringing back your self-esteem. You have it, but you're not articulating it. And therefore, it's not fully coming into abundance. You need this sort of cat energy, as I say, and you need routines. So we're going to ask for 3 pieces of advice from this advisory board for you. So it's just going to be 3 tarot cards, and it's 3 pieces of advice for you to make the most of your social influence power, pile 1. So the first piece of advice is Queen of Cups reversed. Okay, so this is getting back to your sovereignty. You must have emotionally, probably because you care so much about other people and you're always looking out after them, there's a side of you where you put your emotional needs last, and you need to switch that around. And you've possibly, if this is in a romantic relationship, you've put the needs of the other person ahead of that, and maybe tolerated things that you shouldn't have, because the Queen of Cups in this deck is Hera, which is the wife of Zeus. And she was a bit long-suffering because he wasn't the most faithful person. And this is not to say that you are with someone who is literally unfaithful, but I think it is saying that you have tolerated an imbalance. But you are meant to be a queen, and if you get more connected to your emotions around this and own what is your space, then you will be far more effective at using this charisma, your advisory board says. They also say the 2 of Wands reversed. There's a creative choice to be made that you're avoiding. And this might be the difference between serving others and serving your own creative desires. They want you to think about that, pile 1. And their third piece of advice, the Lovers reversed. Okay, so again, it's like in relationships, are you putting the other ahead of yourself, whether it's love relationships, friendships, or whatever? And are you a little bit, you may well know that you're very charismatic, very beautiful, very attractive. You might feel a little bit guilty about it almost, or feel like you can't, it's a privilege that you shouldn't use. But it's very interesting, the Lovers reversed here. The Lovers is represented as Aphrodite, which in many decks is about self-esteem, as is Amaterasu here. So the irony of this is that you may be well aware of this ability, but you're almost underplaying it. or you're aiming to underplay it because you feel a bit guilty you have this advantage, but you're meant to use this advantage because you're a kind person and you're always going to help other people. But people see it anyway, and you're getting all these weird relationships because of it. So don't suppress your emotional needs. Don't suppress your light and your caring and your connection. And there's a creative choice that's at the core of this, which will expand your influence if you are prepared to take it. Okay, so let's see what astrology or numerology can help you, pile one. Because it was really all there. You've just got to decide to use it, to be honest, and not feel, oh, well, you know, I was born beautiful and that's a problem, whatever it is, or I'm just going to get jealous. And you probably have. With some of those energies, you've probably had quite a lot of jealousy. But, like, you know, that's their problem, not yours. So, opposition. Yeah, I think you've got an internal opposition. I think that you're meant to be a queen. You're meant to be dynamic, charismatic, creative, flamboyant. And you can do it in service to a cause. There's no reason why you can't. But you feel as though you should be more humble. So you have to work out what that opposition is within yourself. This is what's blocking your creative energy. And if you don't work it out, it may come at you by other people, opposition from other people that you don't even really understand because your motives are really pure. Neptune, very much intuitive, very psychic. The Oracle of Delphi coming up, the cat intuition. Listen to that. You're kind of listening to your mind more than to your psychic knowing at the moment. Because I think you think it's fairer somehow, but, you know, your intuition can be fair too. And Sagittarius, there's something about freedom and artistic freedom associated with this. I'm just going to quickly deal out to find out a little bit more about the opposition energy. What kind of internal, I think, opposition might you have? So I'm going to deal out till I get planets. Trying to do it a bit more quietly. Sometimes when I hear this back, I think, oh my God, it sounds so loud when I'm doing it. Pluto, yeah. There's big power issues associated with this. For Pluto and Venus, yeah, you have, some of you might have gone through a major transformation in who and how you love or how you present yourself, or major physical translation. Like you might have literally been someone who was a bit, you know, geeky and awkward when you're young, and now you're very beautiful. There's something. You have a very deep sort of issue to transform around love, but I think you have a sort of sense almost of that you were too blessed or something, or I don't know, that you need to kind of take it into the underworld and hide it a bit, but you're not meant to. You're meant to actually use that transformation to become what you're meant to be, which is very beautiful in one form or another. It doesn't have to be physically beautiful. Okay. So we're going to finish off with a couple of crystal chakra affirmations for you. And then just to have a bit of humorous end, we're going to get something from Icons of the Past with the Love Oracles to see what their advice around social influence is for you. But firstly, a couple of crystal chakra affirmation cards. We have the crown chakra, yeah, very much about your intuition. Don't shut that off or think it's only for really private things. This is part of how you're influential. And heart chakra, yeah. And love, there's meant to be love for you. People love you, as I say, and that could get a little bit complicated sometimes. But I think you're also meant to find love. There's meant to be a transformative major love for you if you aren't already in that situation. Okay, so the crown chakra has purple fluorite, which is about dreams and visions. The affirmations are, I never lose sight of my creative visions. Yeah, don't let other people drain you of your energy. And I pay close attention to my dreams. Yeah, maybe a lot of your intuition comes through dreams, through symbolism, that kind of thing. The heart chakra has jade, which is about purity and serenity. The affirmations are, I experience serenity when I learn to accept. You need to accept yourself. I just think you feel a bit guilty for this sort of shine that you have. And I deserve pure and infinite love. Yeah, you do. It's a very kind energy. In all of this is to actually help and serve others. But as I say, you probably attract jealousy and or obsession. And I think you need to start to understand your power and really look at how you want to use that and channel it a bit more. So to finish off pile one, we'll just get you an icon from history. This could just be humorous, have a bit of a laugh if it is, but if it helps and is profound, take the advice as well. So we have Oscar Wilde. Oh, wow. This is one of my heroes. He was very charismatic. He suffered, however, for being different. He suffered for his love and all that kind of thing. So there could be something where you have, or you fear that you will, though we live in better times than poor Oscar did in relation to that. But there's, also something very creative and very clever and very, very, arresting about Oscar Wilde. His advice to you is, I can resist everything except temptation. Yeah, follow your desire. That's the right thing to do. You will always moderate it with serving others, but, don't deny yourself. He says, hearts are made to be broken. I think that might be around people who fall for you, but it's not reciprocated. You can't fix that for everybody, Phelan. And he says, true friends stab you in the front. Yeah, so if somebody's jealous and stabbing you in the back, move away. True friends will be honest with you, and you can then be honest with them. So, Phelan, I think your social influence is charisma and great attractiveness and great caring. And it's how you balance those skills in whatever way you want to use them that will bring you the best outcomes. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your readings. So we have some Dreams of Gaia Tarot to give a bit of a sense about some of the energy of your social influence and your particular social influence power, and then also some astrology to get a sense about the aspects of your life that this most manifests in. We also over here have your PR advisory board, which we will introduce you to a little bit later in terms of how to best use your social influence power. You are very clear. It's very interesting that you came to the reading with the deck that I said it's a bit like a fortune teller, the fact that we have intuition here. You're very psychic, but a lot of this is very grounded, and it is connected to healing. You are highly impactful healer in your social groups, your friendships, your workplace. If you wanted to do this as a business, any of those sort of things, with both Chiron as a healing energy here, and then also the healing card, which is a major arcana, an additional major arcana in the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. And then with the Ten of Fire, which in this deck is not about feeling tired and exhausted. It's about the mastery of all the elements, the chakras here. It's a very, very strong message that your social influence is around things that are, and also with Virgo, around health, around well-being, around a good and plentiful life, and getting through any blockages, and using psychic and spiritual healing in some way to do this. You could definitely go into traditional medicine. There's no reason why you couldn't, but if you did, you're going to bring your intuition in to a great degree. I think many of you, however, are likely to do this either in a job, or it's just something naturally that you do in spiritual groups or around friends, around healing. And I think you're drawn to social groups and networks that are around, the sort of new spiritual and also potentially traditional modalities for healing, for energy balance, all of those sorts of things. You would be seen very much as a healing presence, and people would come to you. They may not even, you may not literally do healing as a modality, but it's almost like just being in your presence is a healing energy for people, and you are, I think, very healthy in what you do yourself. So you're a great role model about all of that. There is a little bit of a hint though with Chiron, because Chiron is the wounded healer in Greek mythology. So there may be a bit of a risk here, because one of the things we're going to be looking at is the advice around how to best use this, and also from the advisory board. So there may be a little bit of a thing here about making sure that you look after yourself as well. I think by and large you do with Virgo there. I don't think it's a major problem, and I think your own sort of capacity to align your chakras, connect in that way, would be there. But whenever I see Chiron, I always think that you do have to make sure that you can heal yourself as well. So let's use some tarot to get a little bit more information about this. So let's see how your social influence ability, which, as I say, is about health, healing, warmth, alignment, intuition, is perceived by others at the moment. Seven of Swords reversed, Ten of Wands, Queen of Cups, Ten of Swords reversed, Queen of Swords reversed, King of Wands reversed. Okay. People come to you when they're mentally, emotionally, mentally and kind of creatively in particular, exhausted, for emotional clarity, definitely. I think that you either work in or you're around people who are in very complex environments, probably complex political or intellectually or legal system or politics or something. With the Seven of Swords reversed, your healing energy is drawing upon places and issues that are very mentally strained and mentally difficult and tiring, like really tiring, and maybe too self-critical. Like, you would be an amazing therapist, I've got to say. So you could draw people at the point where they were at an intellectual nadir, or their self-confidence was down, or they were hypercritical of themselves, or they're just plain exhausted, and you have this emotional clarity that you bring to things. So it certainly could play out that way if this is in your career. But even if it isn't in your career, I think you're the sort of person everybody goes to for that clarity, for sorting through things when they're exhausted, when they need energy. Now, I think this might be why I was feeling that morning with Chiron, because you have to make sure that you're not depleted by this, because you have a lot of people drawn to you when they're at a point of drama or exhaustion. And it is because you bring clarity with emotional kindness. It's sort of like these sort of people, if they just went to, say, a therapist or something who would just made them base all the sort of points one by one in a very clinical way, it would be too much. It would be the straw that breaks the camel's back. There's something about what you do which brings clarity, but in a gentle way that people can deal with. So, and you've probably had this since you're a kid. I bet you're one of the kids that all the friends, and even people who weren't friends sometimes came and asked you for advice, or just wanted to tell you all their problems. And you do have to look after yourself when that's the case. But it's you draw people at points of crisis and so forth, or where they feel unfairly judged, or where they're too critical of themselves. It's a very mental thing. You give them a clarity, but you almost do it through giving them sort of alignment of all their chakras. So it's not just sort of up in the head or whatever. And it's like, almost bodily sort of responses, get in an exercise program to relieve stress, eat better to relieve stress, that kind of thing. Align with your throat chakra to be more creatively out there. And I think some of them deal with abusive situations. Now, the other thing too is that you may draw some of those people sometimes. If you're a natural healer and there are very conventional and very proud people around you for that, you may get unfair criticism as well. But you're very clear, I think, in what you're doing. Your message is very clear. But I feel like some of you are in a bit political sort of environments in one way or another. Again, like if you're in traditional medicine, as an example, you might have some people fairly high up in that hierarchy who don't like the sort of more intuitive approach. So you may have to be careful how you deal with that if that's the case. But by and large, you draw people to you because you are a natural healer and they know it, and they come when they're at that point. So I'd almost advise to look at doing this somehow in terms of a career or something, because it could be very exhausting if it was on top of a different sort of career, but of course that's your choice. So let's ask how you can enhance the impact of this social influence. The Hermit, the Ace of Cups, Ace of Swords reversed, Ten of Pentacles, Two of Pentacles. Yeah, this is almost like what I just said. I feel like Spirit is sort of agreeing with what I got there, that there is going to be, you're naturally going to draw people to you because of this ability, like iron filings to a magnet. So you may as well make some money out of it. There's also something around your sort of family background, all of that sort of stuff. There's some support and connections. And it is, I think, saying some traditional knowledge. It's like you would not just be kind of doing some sort of intuitive or psychic healing only. Like I can't imagine that to use this at its height, that you would say just go and do Reiki. No shade on Reiki, but it feels like you would actually combine it with some traditional understanding in some way, whether it's about intellectual therapeutics, psychology, or whether it's about physical properties or chemistry or something like that. I feel like there is something around a tradition or well-established structure for you, and maybe juggling that with the intuition. That would really work well for you, because you have to fill your own cup, and you need to be aware when there are differences of opinion that could actually drain you. It prepares you, it future-proofs you against that. I just feel like it's like you're a little bit unconventional with this, very, very skilled, but there are some very conventional people who like the way that it is normally done. And so this prepares you, and it also fills your cup by taking time out, getting into your intuition, making that a kind of a ritual or a process that you do. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce you to your PR advisory board, which has an archangel, a power animal, a god and a goddess. So we want to see what they might want to be saying to you about your social influence, which seems to be about, as I health, healing, different ways of doing things, and dealing with complex, quite dramatic environments. And then once we've introduced you to them and looked at what they bring to this table as a group, we're also going to ask them for 3 pieces of key advice for you. The archangel for you is Haniel, awakening. So there's something about love here. And it's interesting because, and this may be how you deal with the Chiron energy, loving yourself, getting into that Queen of Cups, the emotional energy. Don't lose love for what you're doing, I think this is saying. And you are going to awaken people to different ways of doing things through that emotional thing. But you're going to need that. You're going to need her support, I think, because you are in what looks like quite critical and quite dramatic environments. The power animal for you on your advisory board is the butterfly, about transformation. So I think this is here to help you help others, because I think you're actually well aligned. You may well have gone through some sort of transformation yourself already, but I think that you will be dramatically shifting people. They come to you at their lowest ebb. They come almost at the point that the caterpillar is in the cocoon and is being broken down and needs to be reformed to become this beautiful butterfly. So I think butterfly here is to connect you to that transformative energy. And it also talks about the soul here, to make sure that you never lose touch with your intuition if you're in this very head-oriented environment. The god on your advisory board is Lug, skill. Okay. So this is all about having the skills. And I think Lug comes for 2 reasons. I do think for most of you with your social influence, that you have this basic skill, you have abilities naturally, intuitively, within your soul really, to help others with this. But I also think that this 10 of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles, there is something about the traditional or the well-established disciplines and really building those as well too. It's sort of like not just relying on your natural ability, but also supplementing that with skills that are recognized. And the goddess for you is Bast, play, okay, and having a bit of a good time in the midst of this. You're going to need it, actually. I think that she will be here to say you're going to be almost in training around all of this so that you can navigate a complex environment. You're going to be taking people through major change. And it's going to be a bit stressful, I think. But having said that, to keep your cup full, then you also need to just have a good time sometimes. Don't forget the balance that you have within yourself. Don't forget to heal yourself. And the best way to do that is just lighten up a bit. Okay, so we're going to ask them with tarot again for 3 key pieces of advice for you, pile 2. So the first key piece of advice from your PR advisory board for your social influence, your social skill, is Knight of Wands reversed. Don't go too fast at things. Understand that your creative energy and your understanding will be faster than others, and there will be some that are threatened by that. So the Knight of Wands, both the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords, when they are upright, tend to sort of run into the battle without thinking. And they're the fastest of the suits, the Wands and the Swords. So I think this is just slow down a bit, look at what's going on, what skills or qualifications or whatever do you need to have the respective people, how can you have time to play. Just don't feel like you're constantly having to be on, basically. The next piece of advice for you around your social influence is 4 of Cups reversed. Your key thing, what you're going to take people through, is unblocking emotional blocks. That's why they're responding to your Queen of Cups. You're going to be doing it, though. They're probably largely going to be coming to you with blocks that are around their belief structures or around their egos. So this is understanding, and this may be something to focus your traditional training on if you do that. How do you unblock emotional blocks? And how do you make sure that you don't kind of get emotionally overwhelmed yourself? The third piece of advice that they have for you for your social influence, pile 2, is Strength reversed. Yeah, don't Don't be sapped by this. Make sure you have the play. Make sure that you heal yourself. There is a risk for you that you get so driven by this and so on a cause that you could burn yourself out. So make sure you take time out. Be the hermit, and take time out. Play and take time out. Don't feel that you're there at everybody's beck and call all the time. Okay, so let's see what astrology and numerology can bring to the table for you. Black Moon Lilith, yeah. People are going to really draw on this. This is the thing about the strength. Black Moon Lilith is a kind of a hungry, almost vampiric, very emotionally charged energy. And it's possible because it's often sort of the darker emotional energies, the kind of dark night of the soul type of energies. So this is the making sure about your own emotional happiness, your own emotional alignment, because a lot of people are going to be drawing a lot from you. Seventh house. This could bring a significant relationship in for you, or you may be supported by a significant relationship. It could also be that a lot of this comes through some form of relationship counseling or something. That may be the core thing. This might be why it feels like it's emotional, but it's still in a contested area. Certainly relationship, and it's a good sign for you using social influence. It says that you have a great skill with relationships as well. And first quarter. So the first quarter moon is about setting new intentions. So I think Spirit is saying it's time to start to really work out what you want to do with this and how you get the balance right. If you set the right intentions now, it will be much easier for you to manage what you draw to yourself, because you're going to draw more and more and more the more that you're seeing. Okay, so to finish off, I'm going to get you a couple of crystal chakra cards for affirmations, and then we're going to get some advice from the love oracles. So crystal chakra energy, which would be important for you around healing and keeping yourself healed. So the first one is the root chakra. Yeah, your foundations, making sure your foundations are in play, that you're ready, that you don't even start off with your strength diminished. And the root chakra, yeah. Spirit really wants you to make sure you feel safe and secure and grounded. So two different crystals for you. In this one, it's the ruby, so spontaneity and motivation. I think that's picking up the vast energy of play. It says, I feel motivated to achieve my goals and I allow myself to be spontaneous. So there's something in the way that you do this, and I think it fits with doing anything around health or healing, that you are in a rather traditional environment, or one that has many rules and regulations. You have to follow all of that, but you also need to feel that kind of sense of play and enjoyment and spontaneity, because a lot of what you get is sort of channeled. The second root chakra crystal is garnet, and that's about courage and hope. I hope for the best in every situation, and I have the courage to evolve. Yeah, your soul evolves too. Make sure, that might be a little bit of a hint too. Don't think that you've got it all sorted. You can always learn more, and the people even that you help may teach you as well too. So to finish off, we're going to get a card from the love oracles, which can just sometimes just be funny. So if it's just funny, just have a bit of a chuckle and play with it. But it may also have some profound advice for you as well too. And I chose the love oracles because although it's about love in a broader sense is around relationships and social networks and social influence. So for you, we have Lord Byron. Wow. Very connected to emotional stuff. This might be a little bit of a hint. You've got to be careful that people don't project on you and fall in love with you if it's not what you're looking for. Anyway, Lord Byron says, be mad, bad and dangerous tonight. Well, I think that's probably more humorous than anything, because I do think you have to be careful. But I do think, because you're in an environment that's very contentious, but I do think there is a bit of, carry a bit of a unique imprint with you. Make people, be a little bit, particularly those that would try and control you, not feel that they can completely predict what you do. That could be what this advice is. Then it says, love will find a way through paths where wolves fear to prey. So I do think there might be love coming in for you, particularly since this sort of fell, I put it with the seventh house. So don't be worried about that, and don't feel that you just have to heal somebody you love. Find somebody that is mutually healing, I think. And friendship is love without his wings. So there are good friends around you, but it doesn't have to be as much, I would say. So I think most of that's probably a little bit humorous, but if that resonates for you, take it. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So here we have some Dreams of Gaia cards to give a bit of a sense about the nature of your social influence, your particular social skills, and then also some astrology to get a bit of sense of how that's playing out areas of your life. Over here, which we'll look at a little bit later, is your PR advisory board for your social influence. But as I say, that'll come a bit later in the reading. You're a very interesting combination of things here, Pile 3. Very effective one, actually. For a start, with Libra, it's probably the social influence, social networking sign. You have an incredibly balanced and fair view of things. You're very socially adept. You're probably a bit of a social savant, actually, the sort of person who in a group always knows how to calm the waters, clear the air, keep things going well. You may well work in or be interested in things that have social sort of sides to them, like event management or conference management or things to do with relationship counseling or something like that. You definitely have that. Wouldn't be surprised if you're in a workplace, if you're on the social club, all of those sort of things, really, really adept. And one of the reasons is that you are a combination of charisma and gravitas, and that is rare. And why I'm saying that is that we have the sense of loyalty, commitment, trustworthiness of the Queen of Earth here. You come across to people as someone who can be absolutely trusted to see things through. Particularly with Saturn here, you will see things through. You will take the time. You're very, very patient with people. With the Crone and Saturn together, there's a sense of wisdom that has come through the ages. So this is the gravitas. So when people, as I say, when you say something, people listen, they hear it, and they think if you say it, it's likely to be true because you've come from experience, you've come from knowledge. Even if you're young, you don't have to be old for this, but if you are young, you are old before your time, in as much as you were always seen to be an old head on young shoulders, that kind of thing. People don't think that you will speak just to speak. They think that you bring real weight to what you do, but you can do it with a light touch with Libra, very, very fair, and with inspiration with the Ace of Fire. So that's the charisma. But it's almost as though one of the reasons that you come across as having this gravitas and this sort of like, people will listen to you, is that you inspire others to new things, and people feel confident if you've inspired them that you will help them and support them and see it through, that it is something worth doing, it is not a fool's dream, and that if you take on something that is sort of new and exciting, that you're going to see it through as well, and people will want to be along for the ride. When you're just charismatic, it has many social skills associated with it, and is quite a wonderful thing, but it often brings strange relationships. People respond to you, want to be like you, want to be around you, but they don't necessarily trust that you're always going to be there. They get a little bit kind of, insecure about it. It can bring weird sort of reactions, and they're not necessarily believing everything you say. They just want to be in the reflected glory. So charisma on its own can be quite complex. Even if you are the most sincere person on earth, it's a difficult thing to handle. But if you have gravitas as well, people are going to, one, respect your boundaries, two, they are going to believe you. So that combination makes for great leadership, but also for, as I say, a great social skill. So you are very, very adept with this, very adept. So let's have a look and see at the moment with tarot how your social influence is perceived by others, and in more detail. Because we know that you are the combination of gravitas and charisma. We know you have all the social niceties, and we know that you have the patience. So how overall are you coming across to others in your various social networks? Nine of Pentacles, Tower reversed, King of Wands reversed, Hanged Man, Knight of Swords, Nine of Swords. Okay, yeah. You're the person to go to in a crisis. That's the first thing I get about this. You know how to pace things. You know how to do things wisely. You're not all about yourself, but people sense the charisma. But when people are worried, nervous, scared about change, they come to you because you seem to be able to keep a cool head when everything's falling apart. And we've got the tower here, but the tower's reversed. So they're coming to you for the way to get through change without it all collapsing. They trust you, and with good reason. You're not going to be lying to them. But if you're in an organisation and you were saying, somebody came to you and said, is the organisation about to collapse, and you knew it wasn't going to collapse, but it was going to change, you would say it's going to change and it's going to be okay, and this is how we'll do it, and they will listen to you and they will follow what you say. You are definitely the first person to go to in a crisis, because people believe that you can salvage what needs to be salvaged. You can sort of like show a growth opportunity. You're able to stand on your own 2 feet, and you'll be honest. You're not sort of a company person, so to speak, on that level. And that you're not egotistical. They see you as being very creative, very vibrant, but you put your ego aside to deal with issues and to take different perspectives. And you know when to go slow and when to go fast. See, you are the natural change agent. You are the natural leader. Because people just, if you went, slow down, don't rush, it's all good, we take it step by step, people are going to follow you. If you say, okay, we've been at a halt for a while, we've really got to speed this up, people will do it. And you relieve the anxiety. So you're a natural leader. It's this combination. And if it's in a friendship group, if changes are happening around whatever you're doing, or social networks or online or whatever it is, you can set the pace for things, and you will take people through, and you are the leader, but you don't have to sort of push that in people's faces. They just naturally come to you. So now the one downside about this potentially is that people might more often come to you when they feel anxious and they want your help. I think they see you as being very much confident within yourself, and there may be times when you want that support. So I think one of the downsides might be that people think you've got it all together when sometimes you need that. So it's just something to think about with the people who are closest to you, if that's the case. So let's ask how to enhance your reach and impact, and your social influence skill. Six of Pentacles, Lovers, Four of Wands reversed, Four of Swords reversed, Knight of Wands. Okay, you may be neglecting some of your own creative inspirations to deal with all of these issues with other people. That's a possibility. And you may feel naturally comfortable in solving sort of disputes and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. As I say, you have the social niceties to do it. But it puts you almost in a benefactor role all the time, where it may be better to find partners, collaborators and so forth, other people. So it's a more sort of like balanced sort of exchange of energy operating. That allows you to unleash this side. I think it's very much tilting towards the sort of the stabilizer, the change agent, but you really are inspirational as well. And so if you really start to do something with that, you don't think you have to constantly look after everybody else. You get a little bit more confident. So you're very well developed on this. It's the Queen, but this is the Ace. So you may doubt your own sort of creative ability or charisma and everything, but it's there. It's definitely there. But you've maybe tilted towards that which you feel you're very well established with, and that people really respond to. But they'll respond to this as well. But you've just got to maybe come out a little bit more, make it less about dealing with everybody else's problems, and maybe more about finding the partnerships and the collaboration where you can work towards something that you would want to bring into being. Okay, so let's introduce you to your PR advisory board for your social influence pile 3. So we have an archangel, a power animal, a god, and a goddess. So the archangel is Zadkiel, enlightenment. So this is Jupiter. This is about bringing luck in. And it's interesting because luck is expansion. This is the Ace of Fire, I think. Zadkiel is here to want you to expand your horizons, because you're very accomplished and you'll bring that same gravitas and that same sort of sense of loyalty and commitment and outcome, definitely. But you may be sort of slowing yourself down with Saturn, it's very structured, whereas Jupiter is that expansion. So I think Zadkiel comes to really open up this energy. The power animal for you is the fruit bat or flying fox, kindness. So I think this is just picking up your social ease. You are a very kind person. It won't, if you start to look at what you want, that's not an act of unkindness. It's not not caring. You will actually inspire people as well too, but you've kind of tended to do more around creating calm in chaos for people and less about your own sort of creative energy. So I think fruit bat flying fox is here just to remind you that you're always going to be good to people. It's not an either or for you. The God energy for you is Eros, love. So this may be meant to bring in a relationship. If you aren't already in one, then there's a kind of a power couple sort of energy here that's meant to come in. Following your passion will help to do that. But otherwise, I think it's about the love of what you do. And again, I think your PR team really want you to concentrate on this side. I think you're all over the rest of it. They want you to concentrate on this. And your goddess energy, Helen of Troy, beauty. Yeah, there's something very beautiful in what you are bringing about, something very powerful. You may not actually think that of yourself. You may think you're much more kind of like conventional, but there is something very, very beautiful. Because like with the crone, you may think I'm old or, you know, love's not going to come to me now. And this is only obviously going to be depending upon what age you are. Or you just may think that's kind of being frivolous or that would be being egotistical. But there's a lot of passion and a lot of beauty in what you could bring forward. And that will only enhance your social skill. It's not going to detract from it, pole 3. So let's ask for 3 pieces of advice using the tarot from your PR advisory board that can really help you taking this forward. So their first piece of advice to you is Knight of Cups. Yeah, let love in. Let love in. Don't be old before your time. And if you are old, because I am, so I have friends who rouse on me when I say I am. But anyway, if you are old, it doesn't mean that love couldn't come to you. Love can come at any time. So open your heart to the concept of love and passion. You might have been a little bit too serious for your own good. Their second piece of advice for you is 5 of Swords reversed. Life doesn't always have to be a battle. You can, you know, like, and you can walk away from something and sort of say that didn't work. Like there is a great deal of commitment and loyalty here, but this may be saying that on occasion you stick with people, social situations, causes beyond their use-by date almost. So don't think you have to hold on like grim death to everything. If the tower has fully fallen, let it fall. Okay, and their third piece of advice for you is Ace of Swords, yeah, because that lets the new in. New passion, new creativity, new ideas. I mean, I guess one of the things that can happen if you are sort of old before your time, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean like, you know, kind of very mature very early, it's possible that you can get very set in a worldview. So I think this would be saying always allow your creativity in, allow your heart to be open, let new ideas come through. That will always mean that your sort of gravitas is relevant. It doesn't get outdated. Okay, let's get you some astrology or numerology support as well. Stellium. So there's a constellation of energies that you can bring together. And that's true, you know, like your earthy gravitas and your creativity in your heart. But we all have a look at the planets. But first of all, let's get a couple of other cards. 9th house. There's something about philosophy, learning. You may well teach in some way, whether now or in times coming through, you know, or it may be travel is a way that you will broaden your horizon, start some creative stuff, bring love in. And Venus. Oh, yeah. It's definitely wanting you to fall in love. Sorry. I'm not sure if that's what you want to do. If you are already in love, it's like saying, you know, like that's a really important part of things and that's part of your inspiration. But there's definitely something about that. And it wants you to know that you're beautiful because you are. So let's look at what planets there are for the stellium. So I'm just going, well, one came out already, Mercury. So we're just going to look at the combination of energies. We're going to have 3 planets for that. So I'm just dealing out till I get to that. Getting to planets. Uranus, so change. Yeah, there is a bit of change. There's a little bit of like mixing it up a bit basically here, pile 3, that Spirit is suggesting you do. Nothing too drastic, but, you know, it is good to kind of like, you know, ring in the changes, communicate differently, think about different approaches and so forth. And Neptune, yeah, and listen to your sort of psychic knowing and so forth. You know, what do you sort of feel on that level? Don't sort of lose it. You're very, very, very manifest. You're very grounded. You're very intelligent. You're very, as I say, solid, you know, but there is also a lot of inspiration that wants to come through for you, you know, like intellectually sort of and creatively and in love. All right, so to finish off, I want to get you a couple of crystal chakra cards for some focus for your social influence. And then we'll use a card from the Love Oracles for the advice from an icon over history around relationship and social interactions and connections. So the crystal chakras for you are the root chakra, so the foundations of your life, you know, you'd always do this though, you'd always want to know that things had a solid foundation. And the crown chakra, yeah, you're going from one end to the other, really. It's sort of like the whole thing. But it is saying, like, you will always have this foundation. You also need to sort of really connect to your spiritual side because it will bring in powerful inspiration for you. In the root chakra, we have red carnelian, which brings you stabilization and vitality. It says, I see the vitality in all things and I invite stability into my life. And that's a beautiful distillation of those dreams of Gaia cards, the stability and so forth, but also the vitality. So that's important, you know, to always see the vitality as well. The crown chakra has selenite, which is about openness and access. I access higher dimensional ways of thinking. Yeah, this is the Ace of Swords. That's what your advisory team want you to focus on. And I am open to new ideas and experiences. Yeah, you will always see yourself as a work in progress. You are more kind of solid and knowledgeable than many, and many rely on that, and it's part of your social skill, but you always have to stay modern and keep moving with things and let the inspiration come through. So last but not least, we're just going to draw you an icon from history with their sort of relationship and love and social advice for you. Could be just humorous with this deck, but it could also be deep. So take what resonates, have a chuckle at anything funny, and leave the rest. Sorry, I almost dropped one then, so I want to shuffle again. Okay, Whitney Wolf Herd, which I think was a social media influencer. So there you go. You could definitely do this, particularly if you sort of get into the kind of new, you know, have a really strong social media voice. So that's very interesting. She says, if you don't make the first move, someone else will. So there's something new that's trying to come through that you're the right person for. So just bear that in mind in how you're connecting with others. She says, every hour spent staring at a screen is an hour spent alone. So yeah, connect with others. Don't just do it online. And beware, to other people, your profile is your true self. Now, I think for you, that is primarily good because you are seen as very loyal, very trustworthy, having a great deal of knowledge. But you do also want to be using this sort of like creative energy as well too. Or you could get, you know, in a fast-moving world of social media and that kind of level left behind. So you've got far too much inspiration and charisma for that to happen. So just make sure it doesn't, Pile 3. I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.